Hello my YouTube beauties, welcome back to my channel. As you could see, I'm running a little bit of a different lighting slash background setups. So just so you guys know, I am testing this out. We can adjust things as we go. I wanted my setup to be a little bit brighter and easier for you guys to see kind of what's going on, the true colors of the products that I'm talking about, and all of that good stuff. And I also have the new winter background. So give this video a thumbs up for the new winter background. We love winter things. In today's video, I'm gonna be comparing and seeing if these are dupes. This is the Urban Decay Honey Palette and the Colourpop Night Owl Palette. These online looked incredibly similar. I had bought the Urban Decay palette a while back and I really do like it. I would say it can pull very yellow, like very, very yellow. So just keep that in mind when I'm talking about these palettes and comparing the shades and the formula and stuff. The formula of this Urban Decay palette is very, very good. So I'm curious to see if the Colourpop Night Owl palette lives up to the Urban Decay one and if we can use this instead of the Urban Decay one, because this is like a fraction of the price. So if you guys like dupe videos, then be sure to give this one a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe because I do upload every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Let's go ahead and hop in. I'm gonna see you guys a little bit closer. We can get to testing out the palettes. I went to grab this and I didn't even have it in my hand. What? First, let's talk about this Urban Decay Naked Honey palette. I have a review video on this, so if you did not see that, then I'll be sure to link it down below so you can check that out. But this retails for $49. It has 12 golden neutrals, including classic golds, warm ambers, and rich chocolate browns. There's mattes, metallics, satin finish, shimmer. There's just like a bunch of different finishes in this palette, and this is what the palette looks like. It does come with a brush. I haven't used the brush. I don't plan to use it. I never really use these brushes that come in here, but just so you get an idea of what this palette looks like if you did not see my original video on it, these are the shades. Now let's go ahead and open up the Colourpop one because I do want to do one eye with the Urban Decay Naked palette and one eye with the Colourpop palette, and I'm gonna see if I can match them. And then we'll also go through and do swatches and comparisons between the two. And I'll show you guys which maybe shades from each palette are similar. So the Colourpop Night Owl palette is originally $12. Right now it is on sale for $8.40. That's because I'm filming this on Black Friday, but typically it is $12. So this says it's a 9-pan eyeshadow palette that has warm toned neutrals and bronze shades for a perfect mix of metallic and mattes. It says stay up all night with this glam bronze palette. Online, it just looked so similar to the Naked one. So I know you only get 9 shades in this palette. In this palette, I think you get 12. Did I say that earlier? Yeah, so this palette, you do get 12. In the Colourpop palette, you get 9 eyeshadows. Usually Colourpop palettes are very, very good. So I anticipate this formula to be pretty killer. Ooh, how cute. This is the packaging of the Night Owl palette from Colourpop. Hope none of these are broken. Okay, they are not. Whoa. Here's the palette. So online, it definitely looked like there could be some dupes in the Naked palette in this one because, like, for example, this shade, that shade, some of these darker matte shades definitely look like it could work from and have a similar appearance as the Honey palette. The Colourpop palette does not have a mirror. It is cardboard packaging compared to the Honey palette. This is plastic and it feels definitely heavier, more high end, but this is what the Colourpop palette looks like. I do have all of my eye brushes. I'm going to split them out actually and not use the same brushes for each palette. I'm going to make sure that I use different ones so that I am not mixing the shades. Let's just hold them side by side. Let's see how they look, because like I said, online they did look like they had a very similar color scheme. Here is the color scheme of both palettes. I feel like they look relatively similar. Like they have very similar undertones in the shades that are in each palette. So I'm eager to see how they swatch, how they work. I know I love this one. I want to see if this one can beat it. Let's go ahead and I'm going to have both palettes open as I'm doing my makeup so that I'm taking very similar toned shades. And I do have the rest of my makeup on, just not my eyes. I can already see a difference in that the Honey palette looks very golden yellow, whereas the Colourpop palette looks more bronzy gold. If that makes any sense. First, I'm going in with the Urban Decay palette. I'm going to take, there's two right off the bat that I can see being similar. So I'm going to take the shade called Hive from the Urban Decay palette and start putting this into my crease with a big fluffy brush. So that's what that shade looks like. I'm gonna take a similar fluffy brush and start building up the shade Rule the Roost. No, Rule the Roost, is that a thing? This shade right here is very similar to the shade Hive in the Urban Decay palette. Wonder if I'm gonna have completely different eyes today. Good thing only Chris and my family are seeing me, so they won't judge me too hard. All right, both of them look very similar on my eyes. And just for reference, this is the shade Hive that's in the Honey palette right here. Okay, next I'm gonna take the shade called Drip right here in the Urban Decay palette. I'm gonna be putting that even more into my outer V, keeping it kind of low. A similar looking shade in the Colourpop palette is the shade Sea Stars right here. I'm gonna do the same thing on this eye. I'm gonna start working it towards the outer edge. They both look very similar right now. I am trying to decide if I want to go for a gold shade or if I want to try and use a different shade. Let's take the shade Sting. It is a dark brown shade. This is kind of similar to the one in the Colourpop palette that I'm going to use, except this shade is a little bit more brown. The one in the Colourpop palette is definitely a little bit more of that dark ruby magenta looking shade. So I'm taking this, putting it in the outer V. And same with the Colourpop palette. I'm going to take the shade called Rockin' Robin right here. As you can see, it's a little bit more purple than the Sting shade. Okay, we're definitely going to be looking different because that shade. Next, I'm going to take a lid shade, and I think I'm going to take a gold shade. So what I'm going to do is try and mix both of these shades, the shade Amber right here and the shade Golden right here, for a lid shade that very closely matches the lid shade that I'm going to use from the Colourpop palette. So I'm just going to take this on my finger, put it all over the lid, and then take the shade Golden on top. Then on the other eye, I'm gonna take this gold shade called Two Birds right in the middle of the Colourpop palette on my finger. Yeah, it's totally a mix of the two. Maybe it's a little bit more bronzy. So I'm gonna add a little bit more of the bronze shade onto this lid. Right now, it is very hard to tell the difference between the eyes. I feel like they both look very, very similar. The matte shades blended about the same. There wasn't any patchiness or anything. And even though the tone is just a little off, it is so stinking close. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the shade Sting again in the Urban Decay palette on a pencil brush, run it underneath the lower lash line. Just slightly. I don't really want to make the lower lash line too dark. And I'm taking all of that pigment off of the pencil brush, and I'm gonna take the shade called Tweet Tweet in the bottom of the Colourpop palette. This is not a matte like the shade Sting is, but the shade, like the color, is very similar. Like if Sting was a metallic shade, it would be this shade. Pretty dang similar, guys. I am going to go ahead and do the rest of my mascara. I'm gonna add some eyeliner and then I'll be right back. Okay, guys, so my eyes are completely done. Can you guys tell a difference between the two in terms of like drastic difference of like, wow, this side looks so much better than this side, or this side looks a lot more pigmented than this side? Like, I don't know, just looking at it in the mirror right now, I couldn't tell that these are two different palettes. So I would say that this is a pretty comparable dupe to the Honey palette. Now, I would not say that it has all the shades that the Honey palette does have, but it does have shades that are the ones that I would use from the palette because I don't use all of the shades from the Honey palette. Looking at this, I actually kind of like the scheme of this palette better. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is a more wearable palette, and like I can see myself using these shades a little bit more than the Honey palette, which is weird. Okay, let's get into swatches, and I do want to swatch the ones side by side that could be dupes and are the ones that I used on my eyes today. See if I can roll my sleeves on up. I'm just going to quickly swatch down my arm, like one side of that's the Urban Decay, and then this side I'll do the Colourpop so you can get a better idea of what they look like. All right, you guys, so I just went through and swatched both of these palettes all over my arm. So I want to show you this side. Hopefully you guys can see this. So this side right here is the Urban Decay Naked palette, okay? I also have, if you want like better swatches of these shades, I also have the review video that you guys can watch. But this side, all of these shades are the Urban Decay palette, and then on this side is the Colourpop. So I want to just show you, like, as best I can, which shades I think are very similar and have a similar tone, a similar formula, and just could be like comparable dupes. So hopefully my arm doesn't like go this way. Oh, that's better maybe. You guys can see, like, they do have pretty decent dupes in the Colourpop palette. And gosh, I love this shade. I wish that they had a shade like this in the Honey palette, because I would just wear that all the time. And like I said, I just think that the swatches of the Colourpop palette just show that I would probably lean towards the Colourpop palette over the Urban Decay Naked. The mattes all swatched amazing. They blended really nicely. They were pigmented. All of the shimmers did such a good job. I do think that the shimmers in the Colourpop palette evenly matched with the Honey palette. If not, the Colourpop ones might be a little bit better. So there you go. Those are my thoughts of both these palettes, with my arm going crazy. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like me doing dupe videos and if you want to see more, then be sure to let me know that down in the comments. But I appreciate you guys watching. I love you. I hope you had a wonderful day, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.